in January. And that financial stress creates more relationship stress, and the cycle continues. I think what we need at this Christmas time is not to reduce our expectations. In fact, what I want to do is I want to expand your expectations and your dreams. I want to help you reach so much higher and so much farther with your expectations and your dreams that money no longer becomes an object. It's not that money is your limit, and so I need to reduce my expectations and my desires down here. I want to stretch them so much that what you're reaching for is something that money can't even touch. Money can't even reach. Money has absolutely nothing to do with it. So in other words, I'm going to tell you how to get everything you really want without having to pay a cent. We're going to have a cheap Christmas this year. Who's up for that? Okay, yeah. I'm good for a cheap Christmas. So the first thing on your note sheet, if you pull it out, I think we just got to get the ball rolling with this verse. In Luke chapter 2, Luke chapter 2 says, "Suddenly a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, 'Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to men on whom his favor rests.'" Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to men on whom his favor rests. This is the verse, the phrase that Linus ends with in his wonderful speech in the Charlie Brown Christmas movie. You know, "And on earth, peace to men on whom his favor rests." You talk to people and you say, "What do you really want for Christmas?" And when they're playing games with you, they'll say, "I want world peace." But we say that because we know God promised it. And deep in our hearts, that's something we really want. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I'm restless. And I feel like I need to go through my day and accomplish something. And I go to bed at the end of the day and I'm restless because I feel like I didn't do what I should have done, or didn't do what I needed to do, didn't accomplish all the things. Or I'm in the middle of the day at lunch and I'm buying lunch, but I'm restless because I don't know if I have enough money in my bank account to pay this credit card bill. We get restless. What I think we need more than anything else is we need peace. I think our hearts need peace. If you want to take notes today, I think you should just go ahead and jot that one down. The first thing our hearts want is peace. Much of what we do at Christmas time is just simply to manufacture peace, whether it's buying the headphones or giving the more expensive gift or whatever it is. We're trying to manufacture peace. But if this verse is telling us the truth, if Luke chapter 2, verses 13 and 14, if they're telling us the truth, then they're telling us that the Christmas story is ultimately about God giving peace freely. The Christmas story is ultimately about peace freely given. That's the word you should put down there in your blank if you're following along. Freely given. And what I want to do is I want to take you to two passages in the New Testament that are non-traditional Christmas stories. We don't usually talk about these ones at Christmas time. You all know the baby in the manger thing. I mean, you've seen Talladega Nights, right? So you know the baby in the manger thing. I might use that clip sometime here if I get a chance. But you know about that, okay? But what you don't know, or what you might not know, is that the story of Christmas permeates much deeper into the New Testament in places you might not have thought. So we're going to go to Colossians. If you're using the Bibles that we passed out, it's on page 817. If you're using your own Bible, it's the tiny books in the New Testament: Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. We're going to pick it up in verse 15. Speaking of Jesus, the Apostle Paul writes this: "He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things were created by him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy." So here's the deal. He's talking about Jesus, the one who came to earth in the manger, and he says he's the one who created everything. He's the one who's the image of God. He's the one who came to live and to die. And then we pick it up in verse 19. "For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior, but now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. If you continue in your faith, established and firm, not moved from the hope held out in the gospel. This is the passage that tells us that the one who created heaven and earth, and the one who sustains heaven and earth, and the one who makes sure it all works exactly the way it's supposed to work, he's the one who came to this earth. He's the one who came down here, and he's the one who came down here for the purpose of bringing peace to you, to me, with God. Here are a couple notes I just want you to jot down. Jesus came to live and die to bring peace. Jesus came to live and die to bring peace. And then one more thing, jot this down. Peace is when the alienated are reconciled. Peace is when the alienated are reconciled. Have you ever had a relationship in which you were alienated from someone else? Estranged from your parents? Boyfriend, girlfriend situation that went terribly wrong, and then you got split up, and then you never wanted to speak to each other again? I know you've been there, right? You've had those experiences in your life where something goes bad, and you decide that the only way to deal with this bad situation is just to eliminate contact as much as possible. In order for peace to enter into that situation, somehow the alienated people need to be reconciled to each other at some level. Otherwise, you're going to continue to walk into Target and ask that question of yourself of, are they here? Am I going to see that other person here? Otherwise, you're going to need to stop going to the church where you were going and now start going to a different church because they might be there. Otherwise, you're going to have to unsettle your entire life and wander around with this latent frustration that continues to hang over your shoulders because you're alienated and not reconciled. The only way to have peace is to be reconciled. That was awesome. I want a drama button on my phone sometimes so I can make a good point and be like, dun da da. Okay. But this is the thing, okay? That's why Jesus came. And somehow, his death on the cross is what makes it happen. Did you see that? To make peace.